So we're here with Chris Daughtery, author of From Boys to Gentlemen. How are you?
Man, I'm doing great. Happy to be here.
Great, great. So what is From Boys to Gentlemen all about?
From Boys to Gentlemen kind of breaks down into three components. First, of course, being the book. The focus of the book was really just to be a voice for a lot of people. It's a collaboration of true stories. I really wanted to put something together that allowed people to be heard, to be understood, give them that boldness to know that they're cared about. But a lot of times people just have that experience where nobody hears where they're coming from. They may not have a platform, they may not have the words. So to be able to be spoken for and stand boldly behind that and get their message across was important to me. And then we have a mentoring program, which we focus particularly on the young men. And then From Boys to Gentlemen is a movement for community to just come together and really start to build something beautiful. What she want to do when she's 60.
Do you feel that grown men in terms of age can still be boys?
Oh, most definitely. My grandpa used to say all the time, of age is not the same thing as being grown. You know, a lot of times we'll take 18 and make that grown. That just means you're of age. It means you, from a legal standpoint, to take responsibility, whether it be the law or whatever the case may be. But grown is really a mindset. Grown is when you are mature enough to handle responsibilities, how you respond to different situations, where I can come in and think like a grown man when I can be 40 years old still chasing girls in the club like a little boy. And that's not to be derogatory. A lot of times we get that caught up and hear the word boy and become offended. It simply means you haven't reached a level of maturity that would allow you to be responsible for yourself and others.
So how important do you think it is to bridge the gap between the older and younger generation?
I think it's beyond important, because you're sitting at a situation right now where the wisdom that's held by the older generation is something that we're so void of in this younger generation. One real obstacle that I see that's continuously been a barrier between the two is a lack of understanding for the difference of struggle. I had the opportunity to talk to an older gentleman, and I was just telling him how important it is and how much we need that older generation, you know, to guide us, to give us those things. And his response to me, very respectfully, was, you know, y'all really don't want to hear that. You know, maybe you, but the majority of the younger generation, they ain't trying to hear nothing we got to say. They think we old and outdated. And he began to express how he felt like the younger generation has it so much easier than them. You know, they went through Jim Crow, they went through having to see actual lynchings and things of that nature, not being able to drink from particular water fountains, whereas they see it today. We can go wherever we want and say whatever we want, be around whoever we want. But the obstacle that I presented to him, respecting them for the struggle that they went through, I said, when you went through your struggle at that particular time, did you walk out your front door wondering whether your neighbor was gonna shoot you or not? Did you go through that experience of not knowing who to look at, who you could trust in your neighborhood? Now, you knew once you went into across a railroad track what was gonna happen, but while you were at home, you know, having that uncle, having that father, what did a man mean in your community?
All right, so what do you think about the players in the NFL that kneel during the national anthem?
That is probably one of the most sensitive topics out there. Probably what makes it so sensitive to me. The reason why I respect Cap so much for it is not just the protest. Personally, I'm going to be 100 with you. I'm tired of protests. Again, I want to see some action. And when I say action, stop begging people to stop benefiting off the thing. One thing I don't think we pay attention to, I'm not saying that everybody follows that mindset, but approaching it from a systematic position. We are protesting and asking them to stop something that they're financially benefiting from. And I think that's what we really missed the tone on. Telling them, hey, this is wrong, they know that. Telling them this shouldn't happen, they know that. Like, we're not making any type of awareness happen. We may be putting some people on the spot to expose themselves or take a stance, and it's a good conversation piece. But if you look at what some of the things Cap's doing, he's going and he's giving millions of dollars to communities to improve their knowledge of the law. Okay, now we getting somewhere. Learning about how our justice system works to a standpoint of one thing that resonates the most with me when I see Cap kneel, and some of the things that have happened for some of the criminal injustice that happens here, you know, racial injustice. When I worked at the juvenile detention center, I had a kid in particular that was going to court for something he didn't even do. Like, it was really one of those situations. And you hear kids say that all the time, but when I went to court with him, I realized that, like, he really didn't do anything. It was a neighborhood, it was a burglary in the neighborhood. And when he came, he was just outside. It was a summer night, and he was playing. And when they came, a bunch of kids started running, and they literally just picked up several kids. I didn't know that at the time, but after I listened to the court, they literally just picked up whoever was close. So he lived a couple houses down, and he got picked up. So he came in there, he was crying, he was talking to me. He's like, man, I didn't do nothing. I just want to go home and all this different stuff. And that's a pretty typical thing. But, you know, he resonated with me a little bit. But when I went into the courtroom, I was just blown back as they started stating the facts. And I'm just like, oh, this kid is cool. Like, he's safe. Everything is straight. Because the lawyer, he wasn't even looking at his file. It was a court-appointed lawyer. He wasn't even looking at his file. Like, he was looking at some other kid's file, and he was like, no further questions. And so I'm thinking, like, okay. They go back to the little visitation rooms, and he's talking to the mom. And I kid you not, I heard verbatim. He talks to the kid and to the mom and says, look, if he's convicted for this, he could be looking at anywhere from 5 to 6 years. But if you take this plea deal, we can just get him for, 2 or 3 weeks here at the juvenile detention center, and then, he'll be on probation for 2 years. I was like, actually, if you would just go in and point out the fact that they have absolutely no evidence, no witnesses, nobody is even accusing him of crime, y'all finna lock this boy up and get him to sign a plea deal. And the mom was right for it, not because she was a bad mother, but when you play on somebody's fear like that, and that's such a normal tactic for it to happen, because of our ignorance of the law, because of the lack of support and representation that we have, we are constantly the easiest target to go out there because we don't want to go to jail. We don't want to stand it. So anything to get out of that, we'll take a horrible deal that we never had to take in the first place. And that happens because of our ignorance of the law, because we don't have legal representation that's worth anything. And when you have those two things in connection, you leave a justice system wide open to extract their will on you. Because you got to look at it from one perspective. You might just think that's a raw deal. That's 2 years of probation fees that they just want to benefit for a kid that was playing outside on a summer night. So when I think about the protest, I never pay attention to the surface of it. It's like, people want to argue. They want to say this. They want to say that. People want to make a stand. But what I want to see is somebody that, instead of protesting, they go in and start developing programs like from Boys and Gentlemen to go into a community to start teaching these young men how to carry themselves. Start putting themselves in a position where they're growing up with a maturity that would allow them to focus on improving their community and making it harder for police to come into a particular place. I would love to see somebody become aware of all the mental illness that we have in some of those lower income communities and start treating it like that instead of criminalizing everything that happens. I want them to approach drug addiction in the lower income communities the same way that they're trying to approach heroin in these richer communities. Now, when heroin hits and starts tearing up families in Lytle Shore South or some of these higher priced communities, now we got to treat that like, oh, this is an addiction. These people need help. It's a mental like they got all these different things. But the family that was slanging crack, trying to escape from the fact that their life is such a depressing state that they trying to make it through the next day, they need to go to jail. Right. That's the position I come with. So as far as the protests go, I mean, that's all cool, but what you gonna do afterwards? just community. Like, I would love to see what it looks like when people are invested in one another, you know, not coming with the cutthroat mentality, you know, or the crab mentality where, oh, he's doing good, so I gotta pull him back down, or even having a misunderstanding of thinking that somebody pulling you down when in actuality they asking, hey, pull me with you. If I really could change anything, I would change, being more specific, I would change the attitude that we gotta get out of the hood versus how can I impact the hood? How can I bring more finances into the hood, more jobs? How can I get a clinic built in my hood? What processes can I go through to raise awareness for particular hazards? You know, we always talk about things like crime and things of that nature, but when can we deal with it from a realistic perspective, from a standpoint of understanding added resources is the best way to deal with crime? Because if I got a flat screen and everything is great in the house and I got my PS4, when I come to you and ask you, say, man, hey, I just got a new 70-inch, I got that new PS4, you want to come through and play, bring your controller. If you don't got a controller, you salty. If you don't got the, like, if I'm pushing something on you and you don't got, it's a possibility I'm going to get jacked later because I'm pushing something at you and I'm pretty much flaunting it in your face, and it just comes back as simple to the have and have nots. But do you want to ride me when I say bro, come over, and you see my TV like, oh man, you got the Vizio, I got the Sony the other day. And those are the perspectives that we don't deal with. Actually remedying crime can't be done without making an actual availability of resources. And then that's just not finances. Resources to knowledge, resources to health, like just having proper food, clean water. You know, we living in a world, you know, where we're always trying to talk about people and we want to talk about all these other issues. We still to this day have Flint, Michigan drinking poisonous water.
So what does it take to come out with a great book like yours?
Oh man. Thanks for the compliment. Really, a good ear. If you will listen to some of the struggles that these people have, some of the boldness and courage that it's taken for somebody to express some of the intimate subjects that we talk about in the book, then it's not hard when you listen to somebody. And when you can share the experience, when you can just dive into somebody else's humanity. I think that's one of the biggest focus. If you can see somebody as a human, it's not hard at all.
And you also have a play coming out also. What is that about?
Yes. Man, I can't give you all the details for everything, but for the most part, the name of it is I See the Fruit, but What's the Root? And we're really trying to give people a different perspective, particularly in the school environment. So we're trying to reach out to the teachers, to the educators, to the students, to the administrators, and try to hit the parents as well. And same kind of mindset of giving some better understanding of how circumstances happen, and get to the point where we can start having conversations for improvement. I'm tired of people being bashed, point blank. I'm tired of students being bashed because you don't understand what they're dealing with. I'm tired of teachers being, oh my God, teachers, let me, group hug. I love y'all because y'all put up with way too much stuff for this little bitty pay that y'all get, but they're so misunderstood and they're so quickly thrown under the bus. As well as parents. You don't know the circumstances, but you looking at the surface of things. So this play is really going to put you on the spot and test your humanity and test your integrity, really, because some of y'all going to fall for the trap. And you're going to come off initially, and then you're going to be feeling stuck afterwards. Now, you're going to be bold in the first 5 minutes. Oh, she ain't done nothing. And then when you see what happened, you'll be, oh, let me sit down and be quiet. So that's really what the play is about. Without giving too many details, you're going to have to watch it. You gotta come see it.
Yeah, for sure. And one last thing, where can people find your book?
You can go to FromBoysAndGentlemen.com. That is the easiest way to get to. Give you a synopsis of the book. You can also go to Amazon. If you got Android, you can go to Google Play, as well as Barnes & Nobles. If you're in the immediate area right here in Abilene, you can either go to the ACU bookstore to purchase it. If you're a student, you can put it on your account so you ain't got no excuse that you ain't got no money. Or you can purchase a copy for $20 directly from me. Get your signed autographed copy of From Boys and Gentlemen.